The Galactic Empire's fleet moved through the outer reaches of their controlled space, powerful and imposing, with each vessel outfitted with the latest in weapons and defense systems. They were a symbol of authority, a warning to any who might think to challenge the Empire's control. Amid this patrol, an unexpected signal alerted the fleet, a small but clearly organized set of ships, displaying the insignia of a previously unknown origin. The Empire's initial scans identified them as human ships, a new species to the galaxy. Curious but unconcerned, the Empire's commanders sent out a formal communication, expecting the usual reaction of deference or alarm. To their surprise, the humans replied in an entirely unexpected way, casually, almost dismissively, as though they were speaking to old friends rather than an armed fleet capable of overwhelming them in an instant. Their tone was light, bordering on humorous. When the Empire's admiral, a seasoned commander well-versed in intimidation tactics, reminded the humans of the Empire's strength, the humans' response was a simple, laughing acknowledgement, as though the threat were nothing more than a minor inconvenience. The admiral was taken aback, unsure if he'd been misunderstood or outright mocked. As the exchange continued, it became clear that the humans weren't reacting out of ignorance or fear. Their responses carried an underlying sense of confidence, entirely uncharacteristic for a civilization making first contact with a vastly superior force. The Empire's communications officers, trained to analyze psychological responses, began to speculate whether the humans were employing some form of psychological tactic. After all, in the Empire's experience, no civilization faced with their fleet had ever shown such casual disregard. Growing frustrated, the Empire's commanders tried escalating their tone, emphasizing the risks the humans faced by refusing to take the encounter seriously. In return, the humans continued their calm responses, occasionally slipping in light-hearted comments or references that seemed designed to annoy or undermine the Empire's authority. The humans' apparent lack of concern was not only unprecedented but irritating. How could a lesser force react this way, especially against an opponent known for its brutal efficiency in enforcing compliance? Behind the scenes, some members of the Empire's crew began to wonder whether the humans had a hidden advantage, some unknown technology or weapon that allowed them to respond so boldly. The human ships appeared small and relatively unsophisticated compared to the Empire's armada. They lacked the armor, heavy artillery, and scale that the Empire considered essential. Yet, the humans' confidence implied they knew something the Empire didn't. It became unsettling for the Empire's officers, who had rarely, if ever, been forced to question the inevitability of their dominance. Despite the humans' irreverent tone, the Empire's leadership still believed their overwhelming power would eventually force submission. But something nagged at the commanders, a sense of something they were overlooking. The humans spoke freely, openly, with a disarming sense of humor that felt out of place, even mocking at times. When the Empire reiterated the consequences of defiance, the humans merely laughed it off, as though the concept of an impending threat was little more than a joke to them. The Empire's admiral, a veteran of countless skirmishes and hardened by years of unquestioned victories, could not understand this reaction. His entire career had been built on instilling fear and awe, on crushing any hint of rebellion before it had the chance to grow. But these humans, these newcomers, seemed to thrive on defiance, even finding amusement in it. Each attempt at intimidation met with yet another casual response, often wrapped in subtle humor that only furthered the Empire's annoyance. As the interaction continued, the Empire began to consider whether the humans' behavior was a sophisticated tactic aimed at destabilizing the Empire's approach. The humans' relaxed responses seemed to challenge every assumption the Empire held about dominance and intimidation. It was a new kind of engagement, one that unsettled and perplexed even the most seasoned officers. Their attempts to decipher the human psychology led them into a spiral of speculation. Some commanders believed the humans were testing the Empire's patience as a form of psychological warfare, attempting to create doubt and hesitation within the ranks. The entire fleet, once so confident in its dominance, now grappled with a sense of unease. Each human response seemed to chip away at the Empire's certainty, planting seeds of doubt they could not easily dismiss. For the first time, the Empire's officers questioned their assumptions about the nature of power and respect, wondering if they had underestimated the humans' strategy. The humans' laughter and calm defiance hinted at a different kind of strength, one that didn't rely on traditional weapons or displays of force. By the time the initial communication ended, the Empire's commanders had shifted from confident to cautious, grappling with an enemy who defied all expectations. The humans had shown no sign of fear, no inclination to bow to the Empire's demands. They had met every attempt at intimidation with humor and resilience, leaving the Empire's fleet with an unsettling realization: they might not be facing a predictable foe after all. Following their baffling initial encounter, the Empire's commanders ordered a full analysis of the human fleet. They expected to find advanced technology, hidden weapons, or some underlying advantage that would explain the humans' audacity. But the results were perplexing. The human ships appeared unconventional by galactic standards, lacking the heavy armor, artillery, and defensive systems considered essential by the Empire. Their fleet was smaller, their ships unarmored, and their weaponry, by the Empire's reckoning, was laughably primitive. The commanders couldn't understand why humans, with such limited technology, would exhibit such confidence. The Empire's strategists pored over the data, searching for any anomaly that might reveal a hidden advantage. Yet every report suggested the same conclusion: Earth's fleet was outmatched in every way. The Empire's commanders began to assume that the humans' attitude was either a bluff or the result of sheer ignorance. Still, an unshakable feeling of unease lingered. The humans had shown no fear, no reverence, traits the Empire had always relied on when establishing dominance over new civilizations. This lack of deference was unsettling, but they were determined to prove that Earth's fleet posed no real threat. Despite the humans' apparent technological disadvantage, their tone remained steady and irreverent. This response was so far from the usual fearful submission the Empire encountered that the officers considered whether Earth was deliberately provoking them. What if this was some psychological tactic, designed to draw the Empire into rash action? The strategists couldn't ignore the thought, as it was clear that the humans had intentionally chosen their light-hearted, defiant tone. The Empire's officers, unused to dealing with defiance cloaked in humor, grew more agitated as each transmission made the humans seem like equals rather than a lesser, submissive species. Empire officials debated whether to initiate an immediate display of power, one that would silence the humans once and for all. But each time the suggestion was raised, some commanders hesitated, troubled by the uncharacteristic nature of their adversary. What if Earth was hiding a weapon or capability they had not yet revealed? The possibility seemed remote, yet it was enough to create doubt. The humans' calm demeanor, combined with their unconventional ships, suggested they had nothing to lose. This confidence was unnerving. Every Empire victory had been built on instilling fear, but the humans seemed immune. Tensions ran high as the Empire's admirals and generals questioned how best to approach the situation. They were accustomed to straightforward displays of power, yet these humans were challenging the very foundation of the Empire's approach to dominance. With each communication, the humans' casual humor hinted at a strength that had nothing to do with advanced weaponry. For the first time, the Empire faced a force that didn't seem to value military might as its primary measure of security. The humans' lack of concern struck at the Empire's core beliefs, and this uncertainty gnawed at the officers, who had rarely been forced to question their assumptions. The human fleet remained steady, their commanders continuing to issue nonchalant, almost mocking replies to every warning the Empire transmitted. By now, some Empire officials wondered if Earth's leaders were counting on this psychological game to disrupt the Empire's usual strategies. The idea that a lesser fleet might be attempting to outmaneuver them on a mental front was frustrating, yet difficult to dismiss. It was clear that Earth's forces had developed a unique approach, one that relied less on conventional strength and more on unshakable confidence, a trait that felt foreign to the Empire's heavily regimented ranks. Determined to retain their position of authority, the Empire's commanders chose to engage more forcefully, hoping to intimidate the humans through sheer scale and firepower. Yet the humans didn't flinch. Each attempt at intimidation was met with a response that sidestepped fear entirely, leaving the Empire's officers perplexed. Could it be that Earth's strength lay not in weaponry, but in an unyielding willpower the Empire hadn't accounted for? This idea was uncomfortable, suggesting that their opponent's courage might be a greater asset than the Empire's own technology. Rumors spread among the Empire's ranks that perhaps the humans had a secret weapon, an unseen advantage that allowed them to face the Empire without fear. Some speculated that Earth had developed technology capable of countering even the Empire's most powerful systems, while others believed the humans had allies they had yet to reveal. These theories ran wild, fueled by the humans' steadfast demeanor. Even though nothing about Earth's ships suggested an imminent threat, the humans' confidence made them appear more formidable than their fleet's specs suggested. The Empire's officers, grappling with a growing sense of frustration, began to argue among themselves. Some advocated for an immediate, overwhelming strike, while others suggested a more cautious approach, wary of underestimating Earth's motives. In a council meeting, an admiral voiced his concerns. What if the humans are using their behavior to manipulate us? We could be walking into a trap. His words, though speculative, captured the mood in the room. Earth's behavior was unlike any the Empire had encountered, and every officer knew that missteps could prove costly. The humans' confidence had destabilized the Empire's usual course of action, introducing a sense of self-doubt that was difficult to ignore. By maintaining a relaxed, almost mocking attitude, Earth's commanders were shifting the balance of power, not through force, but by dismantling the Empire's psychological advantage. Each casual remark from the humans chipped away at the Empire's confidence, creating a growing unease that even the most battle-hardened officers couldn't ignore. With no obvious path forward, the Empire's commanders reluctantly decided to hold off on an immediate attack. They would continue to analyze Earth's ships, hoping to uncover some flaw or vulnerability that would justify a direct engagement. Yet, even as they held their position, the feeling persisted: this encounter was unlike any they had faced. The humans, despite their technological inferiority, had thrown the Empire into a state of confusion, making them question the very nature of power and dominance. As the Empire's officers weighed their next steps, one thing became clear: the humans, through their unorthodox approach, had managed to do what no other species had achieved. They had made the Empire hesitate. And in that moment of hesitation, Earth had secured an advantage the Empire had never thought possible, a sense of doubt that permeated even the highest ranks, challenging the core of their belief in invulnerability. Frustrated by the humans' apparent immunity to intimidation, the Empire's leaders determined that it was time to assert dominance with a display of overwhelming force. They activated the full power of their fleet, lighting up the darkness of space with a spectacle intended to leave no doubt about the Empire's might. The ships moved into formation, each aligned with calculated precision, as weapon systems glowed in a synchronized show of lethal energy. The goal was simple: remind these humans of the hopeless disparity in strength between Earth and the Empire. The humans' response, however, was anything but submissive. Instead of fear or awe, they reacted with unexpected amusement, commenting on the display as if it were little more than a staged performance. Earth's commanders sent transmissions filled with light-hearted remarks, observing the Empire's formation with a tone that bordered on dismissive. It was as if they saw the Empire's display as an exaggerated light show, an attempt to impress rather than intimidate. Every attempt to elicit fear only drew a reaction that eroded the Empire's carefully constructed image of invincibility. This reaction was baffling to the Empire's officers, who had rarely encountered a species capable of resisting the psychological pressure of such a display. But the humans not only remained unfazed, they seemed almost entertained. Their responses were peppered with comments that openly mocked the Empire's efforts, questioning whether this display was meant to scare or simply to impress. To the Empire's seasoned officers, the humans' behavior bordered on insulting. They were accustomed to compliance, submission, and reverence, not this strange mix of humor and defiance. Undeterred, the Empire decided to double down on their tactics. They repositioned their fleet for a more aggressive approach, intending to force the humans into silence with a demonstration of sheer destructive potential. They issued another warning, emphasizing the consequences of further resistance, expecting that this final reminder would be enough to bring the humans in line. Yet Earth's response remained consistent, if not bolder. The human commanders acknowledged the threat, but with a level of nonchalance that baffled the Empire's high command. At this point, the Empire's leaders began to doubt the effectiveness of their tactics. This defiance wasn't born out of ignorance or simple arrogance, it was a conscious choice. The humans' tone, casual yet deliberate, implied they were fully aware of the Empire's capabilities and simply didn't care. Each response radiated a confidence that was profoundly unsettling to an empire built on psychological dominance. For the first time, the officers found themselves questioning the assumptions that had always guided their interactions with new civilizations. Perhaps power alone wasn't enough. With no clear path forward, the Empire's officers were forced to consider the possibility that they had miscalculated the humans entirely. The humans weren't simply ignoring the Empire's power, they were undermining it by refusing to take it seriously. Every mocking response from the humans shifted the power dynamic, making the Empire's tactics seem less formidable and more like a tired routine. The humans had flipped the script, turning the Empire's usual strategies against them in a way that undermined the foundation of their authority. Tensions grew within the Empire's ranks as the officers debated how to proceed. Some argued for an immediate, overwhelming strike to end the humans' defiance once and for all. But others hesitated, fearing that such an action would only validate the humans' attitude and worsen the situation. There was no doubt the Empire could destroy the human fleet, but at what cost? The humans' casual defiance had cast doubt on the Empire's invincibility, and the officers knew that a single mistake could tarnish their reputation permanently. The Empire's officers found themselves grappling with an unfamiliar feeling, self-doubt. The humans had created a situation where every potential course of action felt risky. An attack might crush the human fleet, but it would also reveal the Empire's vulnerability to psychological resistance. A retreat would be even worse, admitting defeat without a single shot fired. Every option came with a consequence that the Empire's officers were unprepared to accept. The humans' casual dismissal of the Empire's power had struck at the heart of the Empire's identity, forcing them to confront the limits of their usual methods. Unable to reconcile their dilemma, the Empire's leaders held off on an immediate strike, choosing instead to observe the humans' behavior a little longer. Their reluctance to act quickly was an implicit admission that the humans had succeeded in disrupting the Empire's carefully maintained image of dominance. By refusing to respond as expected, Earth's commanders had shifted the dynamics of power without firing a single shot. The humans' humor, defiance, and unshakable confidence had accomplished what fleets of warships could not. The Empire, once so certain of its superiority, now found itself questioning the very nature of power. The humans' refusal to fear the Empire was, in itself, a show of strength that required no weaponry or advanced technology. For the first time, the Empire's leaders were forced to consider that perhaps their traditional approach to dominance was limited. The humans had defied the Empire not through technology or numbers but through an unbreakable will, challenging the Empire's assumption that power alone was enough to control others. As the Empire's fleet maintained its position, Earth's ships continued their light-hearted responses, each one a reminder that the humans refused to be intimidated. The Empire's officers, now grappling with doubts about their own methods, were left in a state of unprecedented uncertainty. They had met an opponent who challenged not only their tactics but their very understanding of authority. In that moment, the humans' laughter became a powerful statement, a declaration that true strength wasn't measured solely by force but by the courage to stand unshaken in the face of overwhelming odds. Just as the Empire's fleet attempted to decipher Earth's motives, the humans suddenly revealed a side of their ships that the Empire hadn't anticipated. Human vessels, previously assumed to be simplistic and underpowered, displayed unexpected capabilities. Their movements shifted, revealing agility that the Empire hadn't accounted for. Ships that had seemed basic and unthreatening moved with precision, weaving in and out of the Empire's formations with an ease that suggested they'd been holding back. The Empire's officers, already unsettled by the humans' casual confidence, now had to reconsider the tactical assessments that had originally labeled Earth's ships as inferior. What had once appeared to be an easy target now moved with a skill that forced the Empire to recalibrate. The humans' agility seemed to be the result of carefully honed strategy, one that valued adaptability over brute force. the Empire's initial conclusions were proven wrong. Earth's fleet operated with a discipline and precision that betrayed years of planning and training. Beyond agility, human ships exhibited unique technology that baffled the Empire's analysts. Some ships demonstrated cloaking capabilities, briefly vanishing from Empire radar before reappearing in unexpected locations. Others seemed to emit energy signatures that disrupted the Empire's targeting systems, making it difficult to maintain a lock. These tactics, unorthodox by Empire standards, caught the commanders off guard, revealing that Earth had invested in capabilities that prioritized strategic advantage over sheer firepower. This adaptability hinted at a depth of understanding that the Empire hadn't anticipated, pushing the Empire's commanders to consider that Earth's strength lay in innovation rather than sheer numbers. As these capabilities became evident, Earth's commanders maintained their dismissive tone. They downplayed the technological displays, framing them as standard protocol and acting as though these maneuvers were merely routine. The humans' nonchalance in the face of the Empire's growing alarm only served to further unsettle the Empire's officers. For every new display of Earth's abilities, the humans offered casual remarks, as if the Empire's reaction was nothing more than a minor curiosity. The Empire's officers found themselves at a loss. They were used to confronting fear, not this dismissive confidence that seemed to undermine their every move. This dynamic forced the Empire to question their entire approach. While they were accustomed to overwhelming displays of force, Earth's fleet operated as if engaged in a friendly contest rather than a battle for survival. The humans' attitude remained lighthearted, their every move accompanied by remarks that deflected the severity of the situation. The Empire's hierarchy, rigid and steeped in protocol, struggled to adapt to this flexible opponent. Earth's unpredictability left the Empire unsure of what to expect next, introducing a level of uncertainty that disrupted their well-practiced strategies. Meanwhile, some among the Empire's junior officers began to notice the contrast between Earth's adaptable approach and the Empire's own inflexible methods. Earth's tactics hinted at an emphasis on resilience and versatility, traits that the Empire had largely overlooked in favor of firepower and control. These junior officers, witnessing Earth's approach, found themselves questioning the Empire's doctrine. The rigid chain of command that had once felt so secure now seemed like a limitation, unable to match Earth's nimble, strategic mindset. For the first time, they considered that Earth's confidence might be rooted in more than bravado. It was an indication of a civilization that had learned to thrive against the odds. As the Empire's officers grappled with this new perspective, Earth's commanders continued to execute maneuvers that kept the Empire's fleet off balance. Each display of skill, every tactical shift, communicated Earth's unwillingness to bow to the Empire's authority. This resilience, combined with Earth's refusal to take the Empire seriously, created a powerful psychological effect. Earth's commanders seemed to delight in their unpredictability, using it to expose the rigidity of the Empire's doctrine and reveal vulnerabilities that the Empire hadn't even realized existed. The realization that Earth had outmaneuvered them on multiple levels forced the Empire to confront a troubling reality: they had misjudged their opponent. The Empire's leaders, once so confident in their dominance, now understood that Earth was not simply a lesser power but a skilled, calculated adversary with strengths the Empire had not anticipated. The humans' casual tone, once dismissed as mere defiance, now appeared as a carefully maintained facade that masked a sophisticated strategy. Earth's approach was a deliberate choice, one that leveraged their unique strengths and turned the Empire's assumptions against them. As Earth's ships continued to disrupt the Empire's formations, the officers' confidence in their invulnerability began to erode. For the first time, the Empire recognized that Earth was not merely resisting but actively challenging their fundamental understanding of power. This shift in perspective left the Empire's officers questioning the values they had built their dominance upon. Earth's fleet, small and seemingly underpowered, had introduced a new paradigm of strength, one that didn't rely on conventional power but on adaptability, confidence, and the element of surprise. Now, the Empire's leaders faced an unprecedented dilemma: continue pushing forward, risking further embarrassment, or acknowledge that they had underestimated Earth's capabilities. Each option came with its own risks, But one truth had become undeniable: Earth's fleet had not only resisted but had also forced the Empire to question its approach to authority. The humans had taken control of the engagement without ever yielding to the Empire's expectations, setting a new standard for how power could be exercised in the galaxy. As the Empire's officers considered their next move, they realized that the humans' strength lay in a quality that the Empire had overlooked: the courage to defy tradition and embrace a flexible, unrestrained approach. Earth's fleet, through its resilience and adaptability, had exposed the limitations of the Empire's methods, revealing that true strength was not about wielding the largest arsenal but about mastering the art of the unexpected. In that moment, the Empire's leaders understood that they had been outmaneuvered in a way they had never anticipated, facing an opponent whose strength was measured not by weaponry but by an unbreakable spirit. Here's a precise, impactful script for Section 5, meeting the 1,300-word target and maintaining a clear focus. The Empire's leaders, unsettled by the humans' defiance and unconventional tactics, realized that their options were narrowing. Despite the overwhelming strength of their fleet, the humans had managed to shift the power dynamic through sheer adaptability, humor, and an unyielding attitude. Earth's fleet, though smaller and less equipped, had turned every advantage of the Empire's against them, rendering traditional methods ineffective. With mounting frustration, the Empire's commanders debated their final options, sensing that brute force alone would not secure a decisive victory. The humans' behavior, once perceived as insolence, now seemed calculated, a choice meant to keep the Empire off balance. They understood something the Empire didn't: that the measure of strength went beyond firepower and armor. This recognition gnawed at the Empire's leaders, as they realized that Earth's refusal to comply had brought the Empire closer to the edge of its own doctrine than any previous opponent. Each tactical choice the humans made seemed intended to expose the limitations of the Empire's rigid, control-based approach, leaving the Empire's leaders to wonder if they had misjudged not only their opponent but their own principles. Eventually, the Empire's commanders decided to engage in dialogue, recognizing that Earth's unconventional strength could not be easily subdued. The humans' responses remained as light-hearted as before, yet the underlying confidence suggested that they understood the Empire's predicament. Earth's commanders continued to maintain a dismissive tone, refusing to grant the Empire the respect they once demanded without question. The casual way the humans addressed the Empire's concerns made it clear that they had no intention of negotiating from a place of fear. Instead, they seemed to view the Empire as an equal, perhaps even a competitor rather than a superior. This attitude forced the Empire's officers to reevaluate their assumptions. They had always viewed authority as something to be taken and enforced, but the humans had effectively changed the terms of engagement. Rather than submit, they had used their adaptability and cleverness to control the situation, demonstrating a resilience that the Empire hadn't anticipated. The fact that Earth's commanders refused to acknowledge the Empire's authority not only unsettled the Empire's officers but created a model that other civilizations would soon observe and possibly emulate. The choice became clear: the Empire could continue to pursue Earth with force, risking a long and costly conflict, or they could adapt, acknowledging that power didn't guarantee obedience. Reluctantly, the Empire's highest-ranking officer proposed a truce, marking a rare instance of diplomatic concession. The human fleet's response was swift and, in character, tinged with humor. They accepted the truce without any sense of defeat, instead framing it as a mutual agreement, suggesting that the Empire had finally caught on to the value of cooperation. Earth's commanders offered a few parting comments, their tone light but pointed, leaving the Empire's officers with a subtle reminder that they'd achieved this outcome without bending to intimidation. The humans didn't celebrate or posture, they simply made it clear that their confidence came from a place of independence, not confrontation. The Empire's officers, forced to acknowledge the effectiveness of Earth's approach, were left in a state of introspection. The humans had shown that power alone wasn't enough to enforce control and that real authority required understanding and flexibility, traits the Empire had long considered unnecessary. As Earth's fleet withdrew, the Empire's officers reflected on the encounter, recognizing that this was no ordinary skirmish. It had exposed the fragility of a system that relied solely on fear and force, and it highlighted the strength that came from adaptability and self-assurance. Earth's commanders had demonstrated a new model of resilience, one that didn't require conquest but instead focused on an unbreakable sense of autonomy. The Empire's officers, some reluctantly, accepted that Earth's defiance had forced them to rethink their approach to authority. This encounter with Earth echoed across the Empire, becoming a point of debate among those who had always accepted the doctrine of dominance without question. Officers who had witnessed Earth's resilience began to wonder if their own power was truly as absolute as they believed. For the first time, they were confronted with the notion that flexibility, rather than sheer force, might define true authority in the galaxy. The humans had shown a path forward that didn't rely on suppression, hinting at a future where cooperation could serve as a foundation for stability rather than control. In the aftermath, Earth's defiance became a story that spread through the Empire's ranks, challenging the foundation of its long-standing methods. The human strength had revealed a critical flaw in the Empire's assumptions, that dominance and respect were not synonymous. Earth's confidence, a quality that couldn't be measured in technological superiority, had disrupted the Empire's control without a single shot fired. The impact of this realization left many in the Empire questioning if they could adapt, or if Earth had simply revealed the limits of their authority. For the Empire, this encounter marked a turning point, a forced acknowledgement that their approach to power might require change. The humans had left an impression that extended beyond military tactics, suggesting a different approach to strength altogether. As stories of Earth's resilience continued to circulate, the Empire's younger officers began to reconsider the value of adaptability and mutual respect, recognizing that Earth had used these very qualities to redefine their understanding of authority. The Empire's officers, left with no choice but to contemplate this new model of power, acknowledged that Earth's resistance had exposed vulnerabilities they could no longer ignore. For many, it was an uncomfortable shift, yet it was undeniable. Earth had proven that true strength was found in the courage to stand firm and the wisdom to adapt. The Empire, for all its might, had met an adversary that challenged its core beliefs and forced it to confront the potential for change. In the end, Earth's departure left more than just a story of defiance. It sparked a transformation within the Empire, planting the seeds of a new understanding of power that emphasized respect over fear. The humans had shown that strength didn't come solely from force but from a grounded, unwavering sense of identity. And as the Empire continued to reflect on this encounter, it was clear that Earth's laughter had left a lasting mark, suggesting a future where authority might be measured not by dominance but by the courage to embrace a different path forward.